In the second discussion that we're having here, this is once again on the contentious forced conversion law in Uttar Pradesh. This is specifically discussing the law here in Uttar Pradesh, apart from other states that have also passed similar laws. But this is regarding the developments that have come in from the hearing that has been on in the Allahabad High Court. UP government has submitted a counter-affidavit in the High Court explaining and defining what in their law is supposed to be called forced conversion. This is in response to PILs that have been challenging the new law on forced conversions. The government here, though, has clarified that the interpretation of this new ordinance that needs to be understood better. But it's also important here to remember that while the government continues to defend this law, it comes in the face of several interfaith couples cases here that have been registered under this law here, who have been harassed by the police. And what has come out here much after the police acting in here on this, that the police has been mistaken on those cases. There are at least 5 cases here that have fallen through, where the police has entirely misused the law, overstepped on happily married couples' lives here. The question here still remains, does the society still need such a law? There are multiple justifications that come in from the concerned party, which is ruling in the state, from the state government, on why it's required, why it's still required here. But this is what we're going to be discussing further. Do we still need a law in which the larger criticism here comes in, that it is perpetrating hate? Let's go across to our panelists here on this. We have Mr. Kailash Vasudev, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court. We have Ms. Anila Singh, National Spokesperson of the BJP. And we have Mr. Javed Ansari here as well, Senior Journalist. Good evening to all of you. Thank you for being with us here on this. First to you, Mr. Javed Ansari, in your observation on how this has played out. First, when the ordinance came in and when the law was passed, we were asked to be patient with it. Let's see how it works on ground. If it's not good, it can be fought in court. But now we have at least 4 to 5 cases here where it has been found that the police has been misusing this on ground, where couples are unnecessarily being harassed.
First and foremost, I don't know where and why is there a need for such a law. The government, both at the center and in the state, is on record as having said that there is no such thing as love jihad. What are the statistics? Is there any empirical evidence on which they have based their premise? This is more ideological than anything else. And because it has a political agenda at the end of it, that's why the government is going hammer and tongs. Most of the cases that have come to light, it has been proven that they were wrong, that the police was wrong in arresting them and picking them up, and the Allahabad High Court in most of the cases, in several cases, has made it abundantly clear that there is no point in harassing these people, and that the individuals, once they are adults, they have a right to choose who they live with and where they live with, and therefore, I don't see what is the purpose that this law is intended to meet, other than, of course, highlighting the ideological agenda of the party that is in power in Uttar Pradesh.
Mr. Kailash Vasudev, if this argument has been made several times in the public domain, this is an argument which is being made now in court as well, with the Supreme Court taking into account this law in UP and Uttarakhand both. That is still underway. Final decision on that still awaited here. But given the fact, when there is so much talk about a law which is very clearly and dramatically impinging upon your personal freedom, your right to religious freedom here as well, isn't it worrisome that this law continues to exist on ground, where we are looking at cases now where people have been harassed to the extent of couples being separated, husbands being taken to jail, a pregnant lady losing her child? I mean, this is a human rights violation now which has gone on to become brutal.
Good evening. We are in a state of anarchy. Laws don't matter. Rights don't matter. Laws are created for the convenience of a situation. They're not created for the long-term benefit of society. In this particular instance, I was reading this ordinance with some trepidation, if I may say so, and I was reading the English version. I have it right here. There are some very disturbing elements in this. They provide for a situation in section 12. The burden of proof as to whether a religious conversion was not effected through misrepresentation, force, undue influence, coercion, allurement, or any fraudulent means of marriage lies on the person who has caused the conversion and where such conversion has been facilitated by any person or such other person. Who will be persons responsible and liable? Can be anybody who attended the wedding or participated in it. Look at the ambit. You have changed the onus to be on the person whom you accused to prove that the person is innocent. The law says you're innocent till proved guilty. Here, you're following a principle where you're guilty and you must prove your innocence. So, overall and massive powers are given to authorities to pick up anyone at any point of time. Another element which I personally, for the first time, I have really spent some time reading an ordinance like this. The religious converter who performs the ceremony, converting any person or other person not below the rank of additional district person appointed, has to give notice. How do you know whom I'll go to for the purpose of religious conversion? Who will that person be? And the entire situation is a 60-day notice, which is already there in the Special Marriage Act under Section 30. And please see this, any person, his or her parents, brother, sister, or any other person who's related to him by blood, marriage or adoption, may lodge a first information report of such conversion, which contravenes the provision of Section 3. This provision, read with the provisions and the powers of the magistrate, gives power to the magistrate, a rank outsider, to recommend that you will not convert or you will convert or I grant you permission to do so. But it does not prevent anybody from initiating proceedings under a simple complaint under the Indian Penal Code, which then gets transferred into this. You're seeing this present judgment of the Allahabad High Court, the recent judgments of the Allahabad High Court, where the government of UP in the present affidavit has turned around and said that the judgment of the Allahabad High Court of 2020 is bad. If it's bad, go up and appeal. Don't reiterate it before another case. But this is the background of the law. Now, if you're going to have this kind of law, which impinges your rights under the constitutional scheme, Article 19, 25, etc., this law has to go. The magistrate is no one to approve or reject your marriage, to accept or reject your positions. And as you rightly mentioned, people have been in custody for months. Ladies have lost a child born out of pure love and affection for a person she wanted to marry, eventually leading to the innocence of the man as also the lady. Who's going to compensate them? What is the benefit which the state is getting out of this draconian law? This is draconian, nothing short. Yes, I only hope, and I say this with some reservation, that our courts stand up and abide by the rights of citizens in these matters. Challenges to laws, challenges to positions, goes from court to court, goes from judge to judge. It depends on the perspectives at that point of time. But if tested on the basis of the constitutional anvils, I don't think this law should stand a challenge. We have to stand up against this. This has to stop someplace. We are not a society like the Americans who go around breaking the parliament, breaking down the Capitol Hill for the purposes of protecting a president. Even they have accepted the fact that this vandalism, this destruction of democracy is unacceptable and has to stop. We must follow the same suit. I have very strong views on this.
Mr. Vasudev, extremely strong words there coming in from you, but important. Yes, but important someone spells out on what really is working against this law, while one state government continues to justify it in this in the face of certain atrocities here as well. Miss Anila Singh, you're of course kept brief with what's happened in the Allahabad High Court, how the UP government has justified this, giving in examples on what defines forced conversion here. In your view, even in the examples that the UP government has given, are you convinced that the state police is using this law properly?
I would say is applying the law properly. Is using it, yes, but applying it properly.
Indeed. Indeed, sir.
Okay.
There is absolutely
yes,
no doubts about
Is
it.
the government applying the law properly?
All right. Yes, indeed, I'll say. I mean, you can go ahead, you can pick and choose, and you can give versions of those who are totally against this law. Just now, I was listening to Mr. Vastev, and I was listening to Mr. Ansari as well. They had all the words, very critical, very bitter words for the government for getting this law. Though it says Uttar Pradesh prohibition of unlawful conversion of religion ordinance 2020, which became law, isn't it? There is no love jihad mentioned in it. So I really fail to understand why they are projecting that this law in Uttar Pradesh is being made for one particular religious community. Like some agenda is behind, and sorry, some agenda is behind it, and government wants to go after one particular religious community. It is not so. They have to answer this thing also, that this anti-conversion law is not new to our country. Since 1978, Arunachal Pradesh had it first. So almost 8 states, they are having this law. So why you are targeting Uttar Pradesh for it? Perhaps if you talk about the marriage, then definitely special marriage act is there. If you want to marry somebody outside your religion, you can go ahead. And one thing more here, Sahar, this is not for one or two religious communities. It is for every citizen, above caste and religion line, above gender line. So if anybody, gets like I can say, if somebody gets accused under this law, then that person has to answer. Of course, a burden to prove in the court of his or her innocence is on that person. That why you got the girl or the people converted to one particular religion. So why it is being shown that this is only for marriages and inter-religion marriages, that too in between Hindu and Muslim.
Okay.
So this is what I am saying, that there is an agenda behind it. People wants to show that Yogi government in Uttar Pradesh is pro-Hindu, anti-Muslim. It is not.
So Anila, in what you're saying here, okay, so we haven't used the word anti-Muslim in the past 20 minutes of this discussion. We haven't used the word
love jihad. Not, but
we haven't
everybody
used the
knows
word about Muslim men and Hindu women. We haven't used any of these words. These are all words that have been used by you. We were trying to have a very neutral discussion here. But in examples of how cases that have been filed under this new law, all of these examples are only about interfaith couples, only about Muslim men, only about Hindu women. What are we to infer from this? We are talking about what is happening on ground. There has been no case by the UP State Police basis how they're justifying the anti-conversion law. You are saying the anti-conversion law goes beyond interfaith marriages, but examples on ground are just about interfaith marriages. What are we to conclude from this? On how is this law being misused by the police? Why is the UP government not taking the state police to task if this law is being misused?
Sir, just now you said that since 20 minutes you did not mention the words Hindu or Muslim. But we know it that everybody who is against this law is talking about Hindu and Muslim. Even this law doesn't mention love jihad. That is the reality. And the reality is there are people,
those are the examples on ground of these cases. What are we to do? The government, the police is exhibiting with those examples. Where are the other examples basis what the definition of anti-conversion is? Where are the other examples of those cases?
No, you are not going to talk over me.
Yes, please go ahead.
I am representing Bharatiya Janata Party, the ruling party in Uttar Pradesh, so allow me. You have picked and
No,
choose
please
these
give
cases.
me those
You are
examples.
not going to
If there
mention
are
all those girls
examples, जी
allowed in
आप
jail for
please
fun.
बोलिए, आप जरूर बोलिए.
आपको
But if there are
नहीं
examples beyond interfaith couples on cases under anti-conversion, please give those cases to us.
It is 3:1. You're not allowing me. You didn't interrupt Mr. Ansari. You didn't interrupt Mr. Vasdev. You are continuously interrupting me. You have picked and choose these cases. You are not going to mention about all those girls. Now let us talk about interfaith marriages and the girls who have been trapped in the marriages by wooing and by luring them. We have seen many cases. Even the media channels have shown that how these girls were trapped, then tortured. You're not going to mention about them. You're going to mention, अरे उस लड़का का उस लड़की से शादी हुआ तो पुलिस ने उठा के ले गया and the girl lost the baby, just now Mr. Vasudev mentioned. And he is not going to talk about all those girls that many of them have been tortured.
No, Anila, we are only talking about. No, this is not about some NGO research or some what some other platform is saying about these cases. We are talking about cases filed by the UP government. Mr. Javed Ansari, please step in here on this. There are no other cases filed by the UP police which defines what the government wants to say about the anti-conversion law. Where are these other cases? All the cases are just about interfaith marriages, and if the government is justifying this is beyond just interfaith, where are those cases?
Can I, with your permission, refresh Anila ji's memory? We don't have to go too far. I cite the example of what the Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath ji said. He said, in that famous speech, he said, अब उनका राम नाम सत्य की यात्रा शुरू हो जाएगी जो हमारी बच्चियों को के साथ शादी करेंगे और उनका धर्म परिवर्तन करेंगे जिन्होंने इसकी इंडस्ट्री बनाई हुई है उनकी अगर उन्होंने इसकी जरूरत की तो उनकी राम नाम सत्य है कि यात्रा शुरू हो जाएगी. I can give you examples of a dozen leaders from her party who have said this. Anila Singh ji is too civilized. I don't expect her to say this. But a lot of leaders, ranking leaders, I'm not talking of leaders, street side leaders, but of ranking leaders who have gone on record and have said this. There is enough evidence and more to prove, to show what the BJP leaders have said on this issue. Can Anila Singh ji or anybody in the BJP cite the example of how many such cases? She was talking of, should we cite examples of cases of girls being lured or seduced into marriage, lured, tricked into marriage, converted and then tortured? Can you please put a number to it? How many such cases? Leave the rest of the country. Just cite Uttar Pradesh. कितने लोग कोई आंकड़ा तो होगा ना जिसके बिना पे आपने ये किया है?
Mr. Ansari, you are very well.
Okay, I'll come to Anila on that final response in just a bit here.
Okay.
Okay, so Anila, please respond.
Okay. Mr. Ansari, this is what I am saying. That whether you or Mr. Vasudev or Sahar, you people are talking about the love jihad so far. Okay. But the thing is, this law is not about love jihad. It is about anti-conversion. The people, many times we have seen that they, by misrepresentation or force or undue influence, coercion, allurement, by fraudulent means, the people are being trapped and they can come from any religion. This is what government is saying. So why this is being projected that why one religion against other religion? We don't want that. We don't want even Muslim girls to get converted or Christian girls to get converted.
So it is essentially being, if you say that. Okay, we get your point. If you say that this is typically being projected only as a case against one community or against interfaith couples, but those are the cases that we have seen on ground. Mr. Kailash Vasudev here, on a final point, if you may please, very quickly. The government justifies that there is no dignity in conversion. You're converting for certain benefits, there's no dignity in that. And therefore, you will have the law slapped on you.
I firmly disagree with that statement. Dignity in conversion is not for the state to decide. It is for an individual. It is a fundamental right to change from one religion to the other, or to give up one religion and follow the other. What is most fascinating is our great president, Mr. S. Radhakrishnan, Dr. Radhakrishnan, who was a philosopher, a professor, and one of the greatest pulpit speakers that the world had seen, and the founder and the principal vice chancellor of the Banaras University. He defines Hinduism as a way of life. He says we accept what comes our way with dignity. We accept every religion with a secular outlook. These are his famous speeches from time to time, even as a professor at the Banaras University or when he was lecturing in England. There has been no diversion from that. Our Hindu texts, our sacraments, accept secularism as a fundamental. Today, we are destroying that fundamental of our Hindu systems. Please understand, it is from Hindus that you have had the Jains.
All right.
It is from the Hindus. Just 1 second, ma'am. I'll just summarize
that. Very beautiful philosophical point here you're making. But my apologies. I am so sorry. I'll have to leave it at that. I'm afraid we've entirely run out of time. But we're leaving on the hope here that this is a law which is intended to be used positively on society. It does not lead to the human rights violations or to a brutal extent of what we have already seen, what has been displayed by the UP police already. This needs to stop. Thank you for being with us here.